have to go. She's not
Okay.
answering. Yeah.
All right, I call this meeting of the Mount Jackson Town Council to order. Can we have the roll call, please?
Ms. Faulds?
Here.
Ms. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Andrick?
Here.
Mr. Shepherd?
Here.
Mr. Rudy?
Here.
Mayor Piper?
Here. Thank you. Now, if you all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
United
America,
States,
to the republic for which it stands,
United States,
one nation,
nation
under God,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice
liberty and
for all.
justice.
All right, are there any agenda additions, deletions, or changes?
I don't think so, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, we'll hear from the visitors now. Miss Karen Costi from the Hometown Partnership.
Just a couple of things this evening. Nice to see all you all. I'm going to report on the military veteran flags banner project that we have going on. We need to have an order of at least 30.
I don't know about anybody else, I can't hear her.
All right.
I can't either.
I'm going to bring you up here then.
That bring me up there.
Yes.
All right,
All right, there we go.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I said that I'm reporting from the Hometown Partnership on the military flag project that we have going on. We need to have 30, an order of at least 30 to place an order. We started collecting applications a little less than 2 weeks ago, and with the 3 that Debbie just gave me, I'm sure we have over 30 now. So we are ready in the next couple of days to place our first order for flags, which we're very excited about. We're really, really happy that this project is moving forward. I did want to ask if the rods have been, the things have been ordered, you know, are you?
In fact, they've been manufactured. I saw over in the shop
Okay.
dozens of pieces of black pipe ready to
Okay.
be assembled and
Good.
put up, yeah.
Because we, you know, we're very hopeful. We're thinking that if we can get the order off in the next week or two, we can certainly have our flags by this Memorial Day.
Yeah, I think Public Works is ready for you.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Glad to hear that. So we are excited about that. I did also want to report that we are not planning to have our chili cook-off in March like we like to try to do, but we decided to try to stick in a fun thing in April when it's a little warmer and hopefully things will be a little better. And what we'd like to have is a battle of bands and a very small festival. So I wanted to see what the council thought of that. If they have any objections to that, then of course we will back off and we won't plan to do that. But we're hopeful that we'd be able to do that as a spring event to try to get us rolling in Mount Jackson this year. We've also planned to start our Sunday evening music events in May, and they will go from May till September this year. They're always really popular, and we're looking forward to doing those. It's an event that doesn't cost very much money, and it's a good thing to do to get our citizens out and be able to see each other and have a good event in the evenings. I think that's everything I needed to say. I just thank you for your support on the flags. We really are excited about this project. And I'm sure, John, maybe you all know this, maybe John's told you before, Mount Jackson will be only the 4th town in the state to have done this. So we feel really good about that as well.
That is very exciting.
Questions
And,
about the flags.
Pardon?
I had some questions about the flags.
Oh, yes.
Is it on your all's Facebook page?
It
Is that
is
where
on
it's
the
being
fa-
advertised?
It is on the Facebook page. It is on the sign out front now. It is, I'm sure it's on the town page as well, right, Debbie?
It's on the website?
It's on the
I'm not
website.
sure if it's on the-
There was a notice in the water bill.
Can we put it on the town's Facebook page, Debbie?
Yes, ma'am.
And then just out of curiosity, how do you, or do you all check to see if there's duplications?
Duplications as in what?
such as two people send in a request for one individual, so
Oh, yeah,
sister
we
gets one
wouldn't,
for her brother and that sort of thing.
yeah, no, we would not let that happen.
Okay,
One flag per person, yeah,
okay,
okay? I think we're starting out, I think we asked for 80 of the rods to be made. So this will be an ongoing thing. Every time we get at least 30 applications, then we will send off an order for more flags.
the other question could you get Debbie the dimensions of the flags so that I can maybe get some other flags for the town that would, work on the rods that you all have going up?
Right, the flags are 2 feet by 4 feet,
2x4? Roger.
yeah.
How long do you leave the flags up?
Well, I guess that depends on when the town wants to take them down. We want to get them up for Memorial Day each year and, you know, a little bit before Memorial Day, leave them up a little after Memorial Day, and then take them down whenever it seems right, and then put them back up for Veterans Day. So they'll be used.
How many flags do you figure you could fit in town?
Well, we don't know. We asked for 80 of the flag holders to be made. As long as we get people interested and we have room to hang them, we will keep getting the flags.
Okay,
I think
Thank
you
you.
can put 4 on a flagpole, on a pole. 2 on, you know, on either side and then 2 below it. So 4 flags can fit on the pole.
Yeah. Just to be clear, those brackets are only going on to the town-owned lamppost. We're not allowed to put anything on the utility poles or anything like that, and so
Right.
they'll be on town lampposts, and they won't be on there full-time. They'll be around the Memorial and Veterans Day and those type of holidays, but not all summer long. But I don't know. It's time we start to pull all those policies together, I guess, in one place now that we're about ready to go, and so that everyone understands when they'll be up and when they'll be down. And as far as I know, Mayor, we haven't done that, right?
No, we
Yeah,
haven't.
yeah, okay.
No,
Yeah, the hard work of getting them made and getting them up there has been what people have taken care of. I can start the paperwork going on when we're going to put them up and when we'll take them down.
I really appreciate what the Hometown Partnership has done with this, because it is going to be a real plus for the town of Mount Jackson,
Right,
so.
right. We are excited. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I don't have any remarks, and how about the council? Is there any remarks by the council members?
Mr. Mayor, if I may?
You can, go ahead, Mayor, or Councilman Shepherd.
As councilman, good. You're the mayor, not me.
Yeah,
Let's make that clear.
Vice Mayor.
Since our last council meeting, we've had 2 meetings of the group that's organizing this Rail to Trail project through Shenandoah County. And I kind of wanted to update you on just a couple things real quickly. There is a feasibility study ongoing by the Department of Conservation and Recreation at the state level. That feasibility study looks like it might be done by about September sometime, and that'll be some valuable information for all of us to look at. Right now, there is some outreach going on to landowners who have property adjacent to the rail line. They want to be sure that people who are right there next to the rail line know what's going on, have the opportunity to ask questions, and just be heard. It's one thing, this group I've been very impressed by is their transparency. They want everybody to know everything that they need to know about this. And I think the third thing that's coming up won't be this meeting or the next meeting, but it seems to be an important element to have the town do a resolution of supporting the idea of a Rails to Trail project. So we may have to look at that, consider that down the road a bit, but that's all, I don't have further information on that of what's been done. Personally, I have ridden the High Bridge Trail down in Farmville, and it is bringing in lots of tourists, lots of dollars. It's a huge economic driver for the Farmville area, as is the Creeper Trail in Abington, and the Northern Virginia, the bike trail, that is the Old Dominion rail line from roughly Roslyn out to Percival. It's full of people all the time. So I think this trail line's a real opportunity, and when I know more information, I'll be sharing it with you all. Thank you, Mr. Anyone have a question from what I've said so far? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome, thank you. Any other council members have any remarks? Okay, with no presentations, Chief, do you have a report? No report, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. And Neil, do you have a report?
I just want to mention one thing, that we are still attempting to get our issues resolved with the sidewalks on the north end, particularly the getting an easement negotiated with the shopping center folks. We've investigated at length with VDOT some of the counter proposals that have been made by the shopping center management, and found that certain less than easements that were proposed by the shopping center are not acceptable to VDOT. And so we've just today gone back to the shopping center management to say, we can't do this, can you suggest something else, or can you do what we've negotiated up to this point, and let's get on with it, because warm weather's coming and we want to be ready to go. So the sidewalks are still tied up in the paperwork stage, and I just wanted to report we're talking back and forth. We just don't have it resolved yet. That's a thing of most importance. I just wanted to pass on.
What do you anticipate for the next move? They're coming back and talking to us?
Yes, I've asked them to provide either someone else I can speak with in their legal area, or to, again, counter-propose something that what they've proposed is not acceptable to VDOT. And if there's another way, we're interested in talking to them about it, but we'd strongly prefer that they just sign the easement that we've negotiated with them so earnestly over the last several months.
Okay. All right.
Neil?
Mr. Mayor?
Neil,
Yes, sir.
Yes,
can we go ahead and bypass that section and do the rest of it?
I don't think VDOT will let us chop up the project like that. I think we have to have
that's what I
all
wanted
the
to know.
Ts crossed and all the Is dotted.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Well, this has been we're now in our 13th year of this project, 13 years to build, a sidewalk that's not quite a mile long. And I'm glad our attorney's on board here tonight to look at this. Not that I want to take this path, but, council, can you prepare a short memo for the council about the issue around eminent domain, if we need to go that route? I don't want to have a discussion about that tonight. I don't know a lot about eminent domain. I don't know if my colleagues do either, but I bet you can prepare a memo to let us know some of the parameters around that topic.
Yep, I
Thank
can
you.
certainly do that.
Thank you.
Yes, I should have added that in their response to me, their email response to me, VDOT said that the two options that are available when the work is not in the right-of-way are take ownership of the property and record the deed, or secondly, secure a permanent easement for the property which does not change ownership, but will allow access for future maintenance. So VDOT themselves is saying it's an easement or investigate ways of obtaining the property. That's their suggestions.
All righty. Committee reports. We have finance first.
I have no numbers at all tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Ordinance Committee.
Nothing at this time, sir.
Thank you. Personnel?
Just one personnel item. A recently hired individual in the Public Works team has since resigned out of concern about having to operate some of the Public Works Department's larger vehicles. And Neil and Randy are going to be reviewing the applications of the candidates that were also looked at for that position and making a decision, employment decision probably by tomorrow at the early, maybe.
Who we're going to go back to. Uh-huh.
That's it.
Thank you. Public safety.
Yes. The police report, there were 926 calls for January, up 6 from December. There were 5 criminal offenses, 2 cases closed, 3 under investigation. They conducted 757 extra patrol and property checks, and they located 5 open doors and windows. The rescue and fire report, they had a total of 101 responses, 70 EMS, 31 fire. Total Mount Jackson calls taken were 29, and they had 26 volunteers taking the calls. That's it.
Thank you. Our public services is not here. Public properties.
I included in a packet, and it was brought up in the last meeting, the family of Hope Emp has contacted the town about seeing if we could do some type of memorial for Hope. The committee, we sent some emails back and forth, and I went to Mayor's Park to take a look at our options. Reached out to a vendor who could make something for us. Included in the packet was a little bit of information. My suggestion would be to put a little plaque of some sort on one of the benches under the gazebo in Mayor's Park. We have a couple different material options, aluminum, polished aluminum, up to bronze, which I think might be a little aggressive for the benches that we have. We can offer a variety of colors. And then the wording, I just asked the vendor to put something on there. Bonnie had some other suggestions that I think might be a little bit more fitting that she emailed to me. But that's kind of, depending on what your all's thoughts are, that would be the committee's suggestion, is with maybe some different words on there that we put a small plaque for Hope on a bench under the gazebo. Does anybody have any thoughts or concerns about that?
I have, my concern would be that if we do it for her and somebody else came up and wanted it done, we would be pretty much stuck with having to do it to everybody that came up. Would that not be true, Jay?
Well, you wouldn't necessarily be stuck, but you'd have to explain pretty well why you did it in one case and didn't in another. If
Yeah.
you've got a rational reason, you're okay. If you don't have a rational reason, then you end up with egg on your face.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I'm thinking-
just, that's my biggest problem. I'm not really for it.
My thinking there is if they meet the same criteria and the same circumstances, then we ought to do it for them too. So if
Right.
everything being equal, we should do it for anybody else in the same situation.
Right, so then we could have 20 people coming up wanting this done.
If you had 20 people with that same set of circumstances, I'm leaving town.
I
You
think
understand
that
what I'm saying? If you get that, if you do it for one, and then, it can progress.
I am normally on the same boat of opening a can of worms. I think that the family is paying for this. So if someone else did come to us and say, we had this very special person who was heavily known around town and who, interacted with multiple people in town, then we would say, this was not purchased by the town. But also I think this is in itself a good indicator of how common it is. I mean, I don't know if anybody else has, this is the first time I've heard of a family asking if they could do something like this. So I don't know that we're going to put an ad in the paper to let folks know this is happening, but I think if in 5-10 years somebody else fit these circumstances and came forward, we would say, well, yeah, we've got some other benches, or we've got the park, or, to me, it doesn't seem totally unreasonable, because it's not like for Mayor Joe where we put up, a big bronze thing, and this is going to be like a little thing on a bench.
Well, if we've mentioned circumstances and so forth, it seems like if there were some kind of criteria, you know, broadly outlined as to what would constitute having a plaque placed anywhere in the town memorializing a person. There's some kind of criteria or requirements or something about the person's contributions that could be outlined. We could use that as a guide.
We got one right out here on this property for Joe Williams. I don't think anybody questioned that, did they? And no one said, you know, we gotta do it for everybody.
I think if we were to have you know, I think Hope was just special to a large portion of the town, but I don't know how you like quantify that. Like, you know, I don't know that we could set some standards that Hope met these guidelines. I just think these are sort of unfortunate circumstances and not the norm. I can't imagine us doing this will have people coming out of the woodwork for them to pay for their loved one's name to be put on something in town. That'd be my opinion. But I think that if the council decides that we don't want to open this can of worms, then I would probably go to like the Lions Club and ask if they could do something at the park, or if there was another, you know, venue that would be willing to put a bench somewhere, you know, on their property to honor Hope. Because I think honoring Hope is important to a lot of citizens of the town.
And I'm one of those citizens. I'm in favor of this. I just feel like to avoid future difficulties, it might be best to come up with some kind of outline. But I agree with you, it's hard to quantify that sort of affective impact that Hope had on the town.
Don't think you're gonna have it come up all that often. To have someone like that, every town seems to have what I call golden people. You know, they've been involved seems like they've been doing things around the town forever. Every town has some folks like that, but you don't have 30 or 40 of them. You know, you got a handful of folks that are very special in each town in the county. It wouldn't be hard to come up with some set of guidelines, and it's going to be the council's discretion, because if you have guidelines, someone still has to decide, okay, do they meet the guidelines? So if you want to come up with some generic standards, realizing it's a council vote, and if somebody would come in with one that doesn't quite meet the muster, then you just have to be a little bit of, have a little bit of diplomacy to you. But it's not something you're going to, I can't imagine somebody would ever litigate something like that, and they would lose if they did, because you're entitled to discretion on things like that.
It's a special use permit for.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
All right. So I guess later on in the meeting, Whitney, if you could make a motion to that effect.
Well, I guess, do you want, before we get to that point, do you want me to try and put together some sort of
Yes.
guidelines?
Good idea.
But I don't know how you're going to do that, but
Jay, do you have any suggestions? Is it just a document that the town has that,
One word, Google.
okay.
you know, the part I don't understand here, if we wanted to do a resolution to someone that passed away, we would sit here and pass that resolution and not think about what everybody else is going to think or how many people is going to want that same resolution. So I think that's comparable to what we're talking about here right now, and I don't see why we're spending this much time in discussion on something that minor. Maybe we ought to do this from now on every time we think about passing a resolution.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. We could clearly, in 10 minutes, do a declare Hope Emp Day, and nobody would think twice about it.
Exactly.
I wouldn't think twice about saying, yeah, let's put a plaque on a bench.
It's ludicrous,
But
in my
It
mind.
sounds like there is concern about it.
Well, what y'all heard of get a set of guidelines together then? Is that what I'm hearing?
I'll Google and see what I can come up with, and I'll see if any other towns have maybe something already together.
It's amazing how much stuff is out there. I would try that first. That sounds like an easy out, but it's an easy way to find stuff sometimes. And if, Neil's got my email address, I can get it to you, and I'm happy to look at anything you want to come up with.
Okay, I'll Google, see what I can find. Donnie, can you let the family know that we're pushing it forward just a little slower than we'd like?
I will. Thank you for your work.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the next thing we have is a consent agenda for approval of the previous minutes.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Second?
All right, motion was made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Do we have any discussion? Could we have the vote, please?
Ms. Faults?
Yes?
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Andrick?
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Rudy?
Yes.
Thank you. I don't know of any old business. New business, Neil, would you like to introduce that?
Okay. Well, item number one is, I've included a memo in your packet dealing with asking for a directive to apply for the Transportation Alternative Set-Aside Funds to complete a section of sidewalk on the south end of town this time, from where it terminates there at the Triplet Tech property, and continue it on to the approach to the bridge that is going to be placed there by VDOT very soon to replace the metal bridge. Just to give you a little background, I have been contacted by VDOT in the last couple of weeks, asking me to write a letter to VDOT that would outline the town's desire to build sidewalks to that bridge, because they may have an opportunity to include sidewalks in the design and funding of the bridge. As you may recall, in October, well, it was actually in August of 2019, the town learned when the design came out that the sidewalks had been eliminated from the design, and we immediately passed a resolution imploring VDOT to put sidewalks back into the design. We also then later that year put in for grant funds, set-aside funds, to help us to build sidewalks from where they end currently on the south end of town all the way to the bridge. VDOT seems to agree that it would be helpful to their desire to put those sidewalks in if we renew our commitment to putting our part of those sidewalks in. Am I making that clear? In other words, they have the opportunity, they need the letter right away, so they can't wait for us to reapply and reaffirm with another resolution. They need to hear from us right away. And it would seem that if we can tell them we've engaged the Pannoni firm to help us to, again, reapply for those funds, that would certainly be a tangible proof of our commitment to making those sidewalks work. And so I attempted to explain all that in the memo to you, but the town staff is asking for a council motion to direct the town manager to engage Pannoni to assist in the preparation of the preliminary application to be submitted this summer to the state for transportation alternative set-aside funds to construct the sidewalks from the current termination near Triplet Tech up to the planned replacement bridge. One thing I would add is I got an email from Councilman Andrick, who asked if since that property from Triplet's in town, but the rest of the property to the north of that is out of town, would we have to get the county involved, or should we get the county involved? And I talked with Pannoni today, and Pannoni said that because the bridge is moving, the new bridge will be east of the current bridge, it's hard to tell how Route 11 will be redirected in that area. And it could be that the entire sidewalks will be within the VDOT right-of-way, which that was the case in South Jackson when we put the sidewalks down there. All of them were within the right-of-way. We didn't have to deal with this easement business that we seem to get ourselves involved in. And so he said it would be important to keep those landowners and the county in the loop as far as information, but it's too early to say that they would need to be involved or that they'd have to be involved in some way, but certainly to keep them in the loop. Dennis, was that answer sufficient for you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a motion that we direct our staff in conjunction with Peony and Associates to reconfirm our commitment to building a sidewalk to the new bridge when it is constructed and finished?
I'll second it.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Can we have the vote?
Ms. Faulds?
Yes.
Ms. Miller? Mr. Andrick?
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Rudy?
Yes.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, item number 2, you want to go over that ordinance for us?
Okay. There we go. Okay, as everyone knows, homestays and apartments dedicated to short-term rentals are growing in popularity. Even here in the valley, there are quite a few listings. If you go on Airbnb or one of the others, where people are offering their homes or they have set up a rental, short-term rental apartment. Here in town, we already have a couple. We've got a zoning application for another, and so in the interest of addressing change and the interest of fairness, really, when it comes to applying our motel tax, I'd like to put forth this amendment to the town code in the form of ordinance 0-01-2021, which outlines wording changes that are should be advertised for a public hearing and receive comments from the public on those. I'd be interested in any questions you might have about it. There's not many changes, but there's enough to add the term short-term rental to those types of businesses that are subject to the motel tax.
Okay, do I hear a motion to set that public hearing for March the 9th?
Yes,
So
sir.
moved.
Yes.
Did you make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we set a public hearing for March 9th to incorporate short-term Airbnb-style rentals to be subjected to the motel tax.
I second.
All right, the motion been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Could we have the vote?
Ms. Faulds?
Yes.
Mr. Andrick?
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Rudy?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And Neil, would you like to tell us about this plot?
Okay, back in 2010, when I first came to the town, I remember attending several council meetings where we had quite a few members of the public come and participate on a discussion about a spot blight ordinance that the town was looking at adopting. And after much discussion and much hard work, the town added spot spot blight abatement section to the town code, which is found in section 22-88. I don't want to say what it was intended for, but it is there to give the town a tool to deal with properties that seem to have gone beyond the realm of nuisance littering or something less serious, and gives the town an opportunity to investigate properties for to determine whether they're blighted as defined by the ordinance. I tried to outline for you in the memo the steps. Quickly, I'll summarize those. First of all, the town manager is asked to make a determination as to whether or not the property is blighted. He is to enjoy the services of an advisory committee to help him make that determination. That advisory committee is appointed by the town council. If the town manager determines that a spot blight condition exists, a letter is sent to the owner of the property, and there's copies sent to lien holders to make them aware that the landowner is given 30 days under this ordinance to present a written spot blight abatement plan. That plan is then evaluated as to its sufficiency and its the timing and whether or not it's an aggressive enough plan to abate the spot blight. And so that is subsequently okayed in consultation with this committee, and then time goes by and we see whether the plan gets followed and the blight is abated. If it's not, then there are other options open to the town council that we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves if I go into that, but nevertheless, I've tried to make this a complete, detailed summary of the spot blight abatement process. That's in the town code itself, which I also sent to you. But at this time, we need to maybe determine if the council would like to appoint a committee that would assist the town manager in determining that whether or not the property is blighted. And so that's what's before you right now. In anticipation of this evening, I did ask a few individuals about participating in that committee, and I've had one affirmative response. I also realize it hasn't been out very long that we're looking at this, and so there may be plenty of other candidates that you might wish to put forward if you do want to go ahead with this committee. But I do have one. I just need some advice. It's not my area of expertise, and I would appreciate the advice that I would receive. Any questions about what we're doing here? What we're looking at? Jay, do you think I summarized that okay?
Yes, you did. As always with anything, the devil's in the details.
Yes.
It's a very straightforward section. You know, you determine it's blighted, you tell the owner or owners, you give them the letter that explains bad conditions, you know, then they have 30 days to submit a plan, and then they've got to get that plan done. If they don't, then the code provides, as this ordinance, that the town can go in and make the corrections and make it safe and repair it, whatever it needs, and the town can record a lien against the property for the cost of that. Now, that's not the end of the story, because you've got a lien on the property, you know, big deal. What does that do for us? How do we get our money back? Well, the code does one thing that appears to be good, but on second look, not so much. Under the Virginia code, when you record a lien for the cost of the abatement that the town would do, it's treated like a tax lien. And tax liens come in front of a lot of things, so that if the property was foreclosed upon, and I'll talk about that in a second, or the property was sold, there are a lot of liens the town would have priority over. So you'd be in pretty good shape to get your money back. But one thing the town would not have priority over is a perfected security interest. There is a first deed of trust on the property. It originally sold for $120,000, and there was a $100,000 note taken back, secured by a first deed of trust. The recorded deed of trust doesn't give the details of the note. It just says there is one. It's all due and payable in the year 2024. So one concern I have would be if this plays all the way out and we get a lien on the property and there's a foreclosure, the town would be behind that first lien, which is $100,000 plus whatever interest has accrued. I recently had a dealing with the current owner of the property in a similar situation, and he was months and months and months and months behind in his payments. One thing I thought about as I was thinking about this in anticipation of your meeting tonight was I could attempt, while the town is doing your committee and looking at it, I think I'll try, if the town wants me to, I will try to reach out to the note holder to see what the status is of the note and the deed of trust, to see if it's up to date, is it way behind, what's the status? Because let's suppose, just for example, the town was going to have to spend, pick a number, $25,000 to make it safe, not repairing the whole thing, not making it Taj Mahal, but to make it safe. I would then talk to the current first lien holder and say, here's the deal, you can foreclose, and if we don't reach an agreement, we're not going to do anything. So, you're going to have a hard time getting the property sold. Or we can reach an agreement that we will put money into repairing this property, provided that we get paid first. It's called an intercreditor agreement, so that if there was a foreclosure, the town would get paid first and then the note holder would get paid. That would be a lot more assurance to the town you are going to get your money back. If you're out there behind that deed of trust, there's a good question, because the uglier the property gets, the less likely it's going to sell for enough to cover both what's owed on the deed of trust and the town's lien. So this part of it is a little bit out there, but I think if the town is going to go ahead and appoint a committee, I probably ought to dig into that a little bit and try to reach it's Candace, I think it's Candace DeMarkey's son, Anthony Sean DeMarkey. So I would try to contact Candace, I think she's in the Basie area, and see if I could reach her son just to see what the status is of that first deed of trust, because that probably would be good information for the town to have once you get information on, the extent of the blight.
Jay, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Can that blight go inside the dwelling?
You mean it's inside as opposed to something on the outside?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm asking specifically about something because I've seen laying out in front of there a beam, and it appears to be a structural beam of some significance. So if we did do something, I'd need to know that we could also include what needs to be done on the inside.
Yeah, the tricky thing is, the statute doesn't say a lot about, okay, we appoint a committee, are they allowed to go in? What if the guy comes along and says, hey, you're trespassing my property? There were some incidents with the other property I was referring to. I don't know Mr. Wilson. I've had one conversation with him, and on the other property, I thought we had reached an agreement to work it all out, but he never made any move to go any further. If I had to, I could file a petition with the court and get a court order allowing the town to go upon the property, because clearly it's going to be hard to evaluate it, unless you can go on the property, and you don't want the owner coming along with the shotgun, waving it around and causing problems. I'm not saying he would be, I'm not saying you would do that. I'm not accusing Mr. Wilson of
No, I
that.
understand what you're saying, yes.
But I do think the court would probably grant that, given that the town, has the authority to do what's going in the ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
All right, looks like the business here at hand is getting a committee together to advise Neil about the spot blight ordinance. And I think Neil's reached out to several people, one he hadn't heard from yet, and the one that has agreed to do it. I think if you all see fit to do that, that we should make a motion, and Dennis has agreed to be on that committee, to appoint Dennis to the advisory committee, and that would be one, till we find however many more we want. So do I hear a motion to appoint Dennis to the advisory committee for Neil? Dennis, you can make that motion.
Oh, I'll make the motion then. I'll be glad to serve to help Neil.
I'll second it.
All right, the motion's been made and seconded to appoint Dennis to the advisory committee. Any discussion? Can we have a vote?
Ms. Faulds?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes,
Mr. Andrick?
Abstain.
Mr. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Rudy?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And Neil, you will be contacting the other person, or hopefully hearing from him soon.
I hope so, yeah.
All right, does anybody, well, one more thing. I don't think we need to bless it. I don't think we need a motion for it or to discuss it. I think you can just, if you have object to it, Karen Costi mentioned the April Battle of the Bands, if we didn't object to it. So is there any objection to that right now?
No, sir.
Because they sponsored, so we don't have to take any action. They're all right. So if you let her know, Neil, that
Will
no
do.
one objected to it. And, does anybody have anything else?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, one further point on that, not to belabor it, but the ordinances, or the statute and the ordinance are a little bit involved, so if you get to the point where the town is going to do the repair, it's kind of odd, the language, but the town does that by adopting an ordinance that says the town's going to repair and this is what they're going to do, and you've got to go through the same steps you normally do with passing any ordinance. So if your charter requires, advertising and 2 readings, whatever it requires, that the decision to do those repairs is in the form of an ordinance passed like any other ordinance. So this is not a speedy process.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
so
we'll do that.
that's a good point, Mr. Neal, that you're not authorizing any repairs to be made, you're authorizing it to be looked at.
And my personal opinion there would be, we don't throw good money after bad. So, I don't know, I'm sure you all know what that means, without me
Yeah.
going into detail. So that would be what I would be in favor of. But anyway, thank you for your explanation.
One other question, Jay.
Yes, sir.
Suppose it was determined that maybe this is no longer structurally sound, so we wouldn't want to put any money to repair it, but because it's unstructurally sound, we might want to either put the pressure on. What I'm worried about is some of the beams I've seen would make that structure not sound. And it's just kind of historic, but at the same time, what it would cost to replace those beams and all might be prohibitive.
Here's what the code says. So the town has the power to hold, clear, repair, manage, or dispose of such property for purposes consistent with this section. So if a building inspector would look at it and say, this thing is simply unsafe, it needs to be torn down, then the town would have the power to do that.
Okay,
You're probably going to get a fight, but you would have the power.
yeah. Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Anybody have anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Second.
Motion adjourned. Meeting adjourned.